Some my dudes, Valg here, and today I have an updated tier list for you guys. Now I'm going to go over each one, so I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on why I think they are where they are. This is kind of a wacky tier list with a ton of tiers, but I do believe that each tier individually represents a different power bracket. So I want to talk about it, I want to go over it, and I want to kind of make my thoughts clear about it, right? So everybody knows where I stand and why each one is where it is. Now, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, if you disagree with my tier list, just put it in the comment section below, and I'll see what you guys say, and I'll take it in, and if I think you guys make really valid points, next time I make a tier list, I'll take it in consideration. So, first off, we have Asoi at the very top. Asoi barely got changed. I'm going to be real, the Camo Frog nerf did literally nothing. She's still easily the hardest character to kill in the game. She has insane mobility, she has insane survivability, she can just survive for forever, dodge everything, and it's just a pain in the butt to deal with a good Asoi. She's not fun to go against at all, because anytime you're going away to try to heal, she's right there next to you because she has so much mobility. There is no escape, she is going to catch you. She's absolutely the best character in the game. Instant revive, good damage, she has literally every tool available to her. Next up is All Might. All Might has not the range of the other characters, but the other characters get nerfed and All Might didn't get touched. Now more people are getting All Might because they're getting the special pass, so people are realizing how good he is. All Might's really damn strong, which is good. I think All Might's like a good version of what a balanced character should be, quote unquote. But All Might can absolutely blow you up. He can charge in, he has lots of ways to survive, he's going to take a lot of time for you to kill, as well as your team sitting, or his team sitting there shooting at you while you're trying to deal with All Might. And if you don't deal with All Might, he's going to do a ton of damage to you. He hits very hard on his betas, his alphas hit very hard, and then he can use his gamma to just survive. He has some of the best mobility in the game, with his betas being able to cover a ton of distance, his special action being able to cover a ton of distance, his special action being able to instant revive. All Might literally has it all. All Might is really damn strong. So next up we have Bakugo, the former king of the game, is still really good. The nerfs didn't really do a whole lot. I feel like All Might and Asui were already pretty much right there. It's just the nerfs were able to push them over the edge. So Bakugo is still really damn good. I don't think I need to tell you guys exactly why he's so good, but namely lots of damage. First off, lots of damage is really good to have, and Bakugo has that in plenty. Next up is Deku. Deku, same situation as Bakugo, barely changed. Well, not barely changed, just nerfs on the alpha. Still has insane mobility like Bakugo, still has insane damage. He's able to really dictate the space in which he can cover. He can go up, down, left, right, whatsoever. And now a new addition to SS tier is Kirishima. This one's going to surprise a lot of people. Kirishima is now really damn good because he has a lot of gap close because they gave him another beta. He has really good mobility in his alpha, and his gamma can also do a ton of damage, especially whenever you're just raining down from the skies on top of an enemy team. And then he has insane survivability with his special action. Kirishima does a lot of damage if he gets on you, and now he has a lot of ways to do it. And with the damage nerfs to the popular characters, to the snipers, he's able to get in that much easier. Next up is Todoroki. Todoroki is really good still. He still has a lot of damage on his alpha. He can basically deter a lot of people from diving on him with his ice wall that does a ton of damage. Also, the freeze, the hitbox on his freeze little slide thing is really broken. It's really disjointed. You'll get clipped by that a lot of times without him even trying. Todoroki is just really good in that regards. Next up is Momo. Momo's very hard to kill. It's going to take you a little bit to actually kill Momo because she has her shield, which gives her ultimate invincibility all the way around her. You cannot hit her during it. She can put down cannons, and then she can also push off divers with her alpha. Her alpha is really good at pushing people off, so she's definitely up here. She deserves that spot. So next up is Toga. Now Toga is really good. So the one thing about Toga, right, and the reason she's so much lower than everybody else is the fact that she mostly just wants to copy the better characters. That's pretty much how it is. But she has a strong beta, she has a strong alpha, she's just a really good character. She's able to cover a lot of distance with beta, she's able to rain down like a machine gun with her alpha, she's just good. Next up is Tinya. My boy Tinya got a really good boost for his damage. The beta cooldown actually matters a lot, especially whenever you're beta maxing first. My very first game playing buffed up Tinya, I was able to reach a career high in damage. So Tinya he still is not the best because he has to dive in full melee onto these characters that do tons of damage, have tons of survivability, ways to dictate the space. He has to dive in full melee, which is very risky, and spin cooldowns to start an engagement, whereas they can just kind of spin cooldowns to keep him away or save cooldowns. They can kind of dictate exactly what's going on, and Tinya has to spend a lot of resources just to get on somebody before he can actually begin fighting. So Tinya still is lacking a good bit in other ways. It's not exactly damage yet. It's more so just a kit issue. We'll talk about some characters with kit issues later too, because you'll see Dobby where he's at. But Tinya, basically, he just has major kit issues, and that's why he is where he is. Next up is Cementoss himself. I did move Cementoss up a good bit. I put Cementoss in A tier at the very end of it because of his ability to disrupt, and the fact that if you actually manage to max out his pillars, they hit like a truck. He's able to hit very, very hard with pillars, and that makes him definitely an absolute menace once he reaches that point. Next up is Shiggy. I think Shiggy is pretty underrated, honestly. I feel like he is a lot better than what a lot of people give him credit for, so I put him at the top of B tier, simply because he has decent mobility. He has ways to kind of jump around and dodge and stuff, but a lot of his damage requires the enemy to be grounded. So if there's anybody that can fly or anybody that can jump into the air, which is basically almost everybody in the game at this point, they can dodge the majority of his damage, and he has no real way to actually deal damage. So Shiggy is, even though he has the highest damage output in the game, he's still in a very rough spot because not being able to hit airborne targets is kind of deadly in a game where basically nobody's on the ground, and every fight looks like a Dragon Ball Z fight. So Shiggy is at the top of B tier for me. Mostly the one thing that's carrying him to the top of B tier is just his damage. His damage is absolutely absurd. And then we have Dinky right after Shiggy. Dinky is very, very good and very slept on, very not really talked about. Dinky, with his constant stuns, can actually like 100 to 0 people at the start if they know how to do the combos. I've seen the clips. I know you guys know how to 100 to 0 people. It's really wacky what Dinky can do in the hands of a good Dinky player. But he is still lacking in the fact that he doesn't have that crazy damage, and he needs like isolated fights to be able to really take advantage of it. And as a Tinya player, I know for a fact isolated fights are very rare to come by. So while it is wacky, he's not doing it to entire teams. He's not doing it from like giga far away. He has to really be upright on his target, and a lot of times that's really deadly. So he's going to suffer whenever he tries to do things like that. Next up is Mount Lady. Mount Lady actually went up a good bit in my opinion. Her buffs make it so she actually has a good bit more mobility, which is really, really good. But she still has issues surviving with the amount of damage in the game overall. So I put her at the second to last at B tier. And then Ibarra. Ibarra she's a really, really solid character if you can just keep people off you. But the main issue is the amount of mobility in the game. She has no mobility whatsoever. And the fact that she just has no answer for whenever people gap close onto her outside of her grab and then praying your teammates turn around to help you. That's not really good. But she does have an instant res, which is always really nice. And then Oako on her own in C tier. This one's going to confuse a lot of people because I know a lot of people like Oako. But the thing is the fact that she really, to do the majority of her damage, which is the spinny car, she has to really just full send her entire body into the enemy team while being one of the squishiest characters in the game. Anybody that plays that character, anybody that plays Oako is going to be able to tell you the amount of times that they went to go spinny inside a team and just got sniped to death in half a second, because she not only doesn't have the HP pool of All Might or Kirishima, she also just absolutely has no way to defend herself whenever she's getting sniped at while spinning. She still takes full-on damage. She doesn't deflect like All Might's Twister. She just gets absolutely bodied very quickly. She's mostly relying on her mobility and taking enemies by surprise with her spin move, or trying to catch enemies with a float and then following that up with spin. She's really relying on that, but she cannot take engagements very well, and she's very risky to play. So next up, we have D tier. We have Kindo, Dobby, and Compress. Compress actually got moved up. I think Compress is a good bit better with the buffs. Dobby got buffed, yet moved down. That's going to confuse a lot of people. And then Kindo at the top of D tier. Kindo is good, in my opinion, in the right situation. Like, if you're playing against, like, let's say a Tenya, like Kindo hard counters Tenya. But the thing is with Kindo is that she's really reliant on just being an absolute brick wall and them just not blowing her up. Whereas a lot of people like Bakugo, Deku, etc. can just sit there and shoot at her, just pew 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 her until her shield breaks, and then they can just back off whenever she tries to gap close. So it's just a losing fight for her because she has no mobility and no way to actually gap close onto the enemy. And it just ends up being pretty bad. But I've seen Kindo's able to pop off and do damage. I feel like the game's relatively balanced to the point where basically anybody can do damage. So that's just one thing to consider. Next up is Dobby. So the reason Dobby has moved down despite getting buffs, I've realized, because I've definitely put some games on him, I was trying him out, I was playing him a good bit. Dobby has fundamental kit issues. And the fact of the matter is his alpha is too easy to dodge. You can literally dodge it just walking side to side. It's not very good. His alpha is really bad. No matter how much damage they get it's still just an easy mechanic to deal with. So his alpha is not very good. He has no real way to gap close or get on somebody, and he always just wants people to engage on him. So basically, if the enemy team isn't playing Kirishima or Tenya, which there's a lot of characters that are not Kirishima or Tenya, Dobby just explodes. And even then, a lot of times as Tenya, I can still kill Dobby. Like, it's not a thing. Dobby's just not very good fundamentally. He's not good in the current meta with the snipers being as strong as there are. The only way they'll make him good is by completely overtuning his numbers, at which point he'll shoot to the top, just like Kirishima. Kirishima always had overtuned numbers, but he never had the survivability. Now he has survivability, so look at where he's at. So next up is Compress. Compress did get moved up a bit. Compress got some good little buffs. The buffs weren't really what mattered. It's more so the fact that the amount of damage going on is kind of lowered in general because the alpha nerfs on the snipers. But what Compress is really missing is just more so, once again, it's a fundamental kit issue. The fact that his only real source of damage is his alpha. He needs levels on his alpha to actually deal a lot of damage. So it's just kind of rough to actually play him. If you're getting in those level 1 fights, he's virtually useless. He's not really accomplishing anything, and it's just why did you even pick this character kind of moment. But his teleport has too much of a start lag to it, to the point where it's very easy to knock him out of it, because you can see him starting the animation and you can just bop him out of it. So that's his teleport. His escape isn't even that good. And then the fact that you can't pick up downed allies with his compress ability is kind of wacky to me. You should be able to pick up downed allies with his compress ability. That would make him significantly better. I'd immediately move him to the end of B tier, because that compress ability is just really good. To be able to make an ally basically cease from existing is really nice, and be able to do that with a revive would be really, really good. To try to just instantly grab somebody and try to get the hell out. Or you instantly grab somebody, you uncompress them, they're instantly revived. Like, it opens up a lot more mechanics. But Compress just himself just isn't good. He doesn't have a lot of tools. He has his deflect, but anybody with a brain stem's not going to shoot it. Anyways, that's my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Gave you guys the explanations for each. Thank you guys for watching as always. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.